You've just dropped $800 on a grail you've been chasing for months. You finally unbox it, that crisp smell hits, and there's the shiny authentication tag hanging from the laces. You breathe easy. The platform you bought from says it's legit. Then, casually, maybe at a sneaker meetup or on Instagram, someone tells you, yeah, GOAT flagged that same pair as fake last week. Your stomach drops. Same sneaker, different platform, completely opposite verdicts. The companies we turn to, StockX, GOAT, Flight Club, promise to protect us from an ever-growing ocean of counterfeits. But what happens when the so-called experts, the gatekeepers themselves, can't even agree with each other? That's the controversy no one likes to admit. The trust we put in these platforms can crack, and when it does, the whole resale game feels a little more unstable. To understand why these clashes hit so hard, you have to look at the culture that fuels them. Sneaker culture isn't just strong, it's at a fever pitch. Limited drops disappear in seconds. Lines snake around city blocks. Raffles online get millions of entries for a few hundred pairs. And resale prices, they're through the roof, turning sneakers into investments as much as footwear. In this kind of market, authenticity isn't a nice to have, it's everything. No one pays 4 figures for a trophy piece if there's a shadow of doubt about it being real. That's why StockX, GOAT, and Flight Club frame themselves as the filter, the last checkpoint before a shoe hits your hand. But as the hype grows, so do the counterfeits. These aren't sloppy knockoffs anymore. They're super fake.
Of course, I bought them from StockX, so they're supposed to be 100% authentic. I sold them on GOAT because they're used. I've worn these a ton of times. It's one of my favorite sneakers. I've just worn them all over the place. I've taken a lot of pictures in these. I love this shoe. And I was under the assumption that they're real. Sold them on GOAT and they came back as replicas.
When each platform uses its own rules, its own staff training, and its own tech, it creates a dangerous overlap. The same sneaker can be both authentic and fake, depending on who looks at it. And that, right there, is the spark for constant controversy. On paper, authentication seems simple. Inspect the shoe, confirm it's real, ship it to the buyer. In practice, it's a tangled web of different methods, tools, and human judgment. StockX made its name on a centralized model. Every sneaker sent to them first, inspected by in-house experts, then passed along to the buyer. That consistency built trust. But their verified sellers program changed the dynamic. Now, in some cases, a seller does the check and ships straight to the buyer. It's faster, but every extra set of hands in the process increases the chance of a different opinion on the same pair. GOAT mixes expert authentication with technology. Most sneakers go through barcode scans, digital recognition, and detailed manual checks. But with instant ship stock, sneakers skip those deep inspections entirely. Flight Club, GOAT's sibling, sticks to manual in-person checks in their stores, focusing on physical cues, glue marks, stitching patterns, box details. It's thorough, but their checklist isn't identical to GOAT's or StockX's. So even if the goal is the same, stop the fakes, the route to get there and the criteria for what real even means are different enough to create plenty of contradiction. This isn't just a hypothetical or a rare glitch. These platform disagreements happen to real buyers with serious money on the line. Take sneaker YouTuber Blake, for example. He bought a pair of Tom Sachs 2.0s on StockX, which passed authentication, wore them a couple of times, then decided to flip them on GOAT. What happened next? GOAT instantly failed them as fake, and that's when the frustration really started to show.
Now, I'm under the assumption still that they're real, but obviously if GOAT said that they're replicas, then are they fake? That is a huge issue because now they're worn. I've cut off the StockX tag.
This situation is every sneakerhead's worst nightmare. When 2 platforms you trusted suddenly become your biggest source of doubt. Blake paid good money, relied on StockX's authentication, and even took that confident step to wear his Tom Sachs 2.0s. But the moment GOAT calls those same sneakers fake, everything flips. It's not just about a pair of shoes anymore. It's about the collapse of certainty. The growing fear that no matter how careful you are, the rules can change overnight. Once those authentication tags come off and those shoes hit the wild again, your leverage disappears. You're left stuck between platforms pointing fingers and a community left wondering who to really trust. In a market built on trust and transparency, this kind of contradictory verdict isn't just inconvenient. It shakes the foundation of the entire sneaker resale ecosystem. And for Blake and countless others, it's a harsh introduction to the high stakes of legit check controversies.
I got the email back from GOAT that said, your shoes are not authentic. Like, I can't explain to you how upset I was. Just extremely, extremely upset.
And Blake's story, it's not some rare one-off. Cases like this pop up almost daily in sneaker forums, on TikTok, in YouTube exposés. One platform says authentic, another says fake. Trust gone, leverage gone, options almost zero. And because there's no universal standard for sneaker authentication, there's never a true final verdict. The companies won't or can't publicly explain these contradictions, so the community fills the silence with frustration, finger pointing, and doubt. For buyers, each clash like this is more than inconvenient. It's a loud, jarring reminder that the safety net you depend on might never have been there in the first place. But beyond these high-profile failed checks, there's a deeper fight. Who really gets to decide what's quote-unquote real? This debate isn't just academic. It impacts what collectors spend, what platforms accept, and what sells for top dollar. When we say quote-unquote real, who's actually making that call? Purists cling to the official retail rulebook, but the sneaker world is messier than that.
And the claim is that UA sneakers are made in the same factory with the same materials by the same workers. They're just not officially sanctioned by whatever the company, Dolce, Nike, Adidas.
And that's the heart of it. The rules feel made up and they can change depending on who's looking. And then there's the gray zone of factory seconds, B grades, and unauthorized authentic. Shoes made in the exact same factories, but sidelined from retail shelves for tiny flaws or separate sales channels.
B-grade sneakers are Nike shoes with minor cosmetic flaws that don't meet the brand's strict quality standards. These can include slight stitching errors, excess glue stains, or subtle color inconsistencies, but nothing that affects the performance or durability of the shoe.
One person's hidden gem is another's counterfeit nightmare. The problem gets even hairier when legit checks can't agree. Sometimes, even with the best intentions, sneaker buyers get burned.
But they're actually the shoes of a 16-year-old customer who actually paid $800, was hoping to get a size swap, only to find out his shoes were fakes.
If a kid with cash and high hopes can get tricked, how safe can anyone feel in this market? At its core, the fight over authenticity boils down to authority. Who has the final say? Without a governing body or universal standard, sneaker authentication remains subjective, an ongoing debate without resolution.
But what a lot of people don't realize is the fakes are getting so good and the real are getting so bad that people could now begin returning fake sneakers back to these outlets. And for example, people could buy a $20, $30, $40 fake off of whatever Chinese manufacturer overseas, and then they could take that sneaker and go return it back to Nike, Foot Locker, Champs, JD Sports, whatever.
If fakes can slip into the very stores we trust, it's no wonder the sneaker community remains skeptical and divided. And without a universal standard, that fight doesn't end. It just keeps fueling the next big controversy. It's also why, when it comes to super clone sneakers, I trust the quality and consistency I find with Soul's Insignia. Link in the description if you want to check them out. When verdicts clash, the consequences ripple across the market. A failed legit check can freeze funds, block a sale, or even damage your reputation in the sneaker community. For resellers, one disputed pair can mean the difference between a profit and a huge loss. For casual buyers, it can mean wearing sneakers you no longer feel proud of, always second guessing if they're actually real. Just like in the story 2J's told, where a fake sneaker from Trollmageddon actually passed through, it shows that even the most experienced sneakerheads and collectors can get caught off guard. If someone that seasoned can be fooled, imagine how easily the average buyer can end up in the same situation. Refunds aren't always smooth, and in gray zone cases, neither side may want to budge. Hours, even weeks, can be spent going back and forth, while forums light up with hot takes and call-outs. Every one of these clashes chips away at the trust that fuels reseller marketplace. And unfortunately, every buyer and seller feels that loss eventually. Every authenticity dispute isn't just one bad transaction. It's another crack in the foundation holding the sneaker market together. So with trust eroding and confidence shaken, what can buyers and platforms do to adapt? Is there a smarter way forward in a market where the rules keep shifting? In a perfect world, you could trust any platform for a final answer. But in this world of mismatched legit checks, you have to take control. Step one, learn each platform's process before you buy. Know which ones use instant shipping, which allow seller-side authentication, and which always check in-house. Step 2. Always layer your legit checks. That means using apps designed to spot fakes, posting in sneaker forums for second opinions, and watching side-by-side comparison videos from trusted collectors. And when buying from individuals, ask for multiple high-quality photos, not just stock images, so you can inspect details yourself. If something looks off, trust your gut and walk away. In a market where even the experts disagree, your best defense is becoming a semi-expert yourself. The controversies aren't going away on their own, but they are pushing tech forward. AI scanners can now detect flaws invisible to the human eye, flagging patterns and inconsistencies no person could memorize. Blockchain-backed sneaker IDs could one day store a pair's entire manufacturing and resale history in a way that's impossible to fake. And some in the industry are calling for unified authentication standards shared by every major platform. If that future arrives, maybe the same sneaker won't pass in one place and fail in another. But until then, disputes will keep tying up money, outrage will keep boiling over, and the community will keep clashing over the same old question: who's right and what real truly means? Some see AI scanners, blockchain IDs, and universal standards as the silver bullet. But even though solutions have cracked, AI can flag microflaws, sure, but it's only as good as the data it learns from, and the best fakes are constantly evolving faster than the tools chasing. Blockchain, it works only if every step in the chain is honest, and the moment one dishonest seller or manufacturer enters bad info, the ledger just locks in a lie forever. And as for a universal standard, sneaker culture thrives on decentralization. Getting Nike, Adidas, resale giants, and independent authenticators to all agree, that's not just a tech problem, it's a power struggle. Until those deeper issues are addressed, no matter how good the tools become, we might still see the same sneaker pass in one place and fail in another, just with fancier receipts. At the end of the day, I don't care if a sneaker is retail or a fake. What matters most to me is style. The look, the vibe, the way it fits my personal taste. That will always come before price or authenticity debates. I believe sneakers are a form of self-expression, not just collectibles or investments. If a pair speaks to me and fits my style, that's all the authenticity I need. The market can argue about fakes, grades, and certificates, but I'm just here to rock what I love, confidently. So whether you're buying retail, an authorized replica, or a super clone from a trusted source like Soul's Insignia, make your choice based on what feels right for you. Because at the end of the day, style is real.